Question 1. Risk assessment procedures indicate a potential breach of academic integrity concerning a candidate for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam. A faculty member has been approached by a relative of a candidate who is requesting advance information about specific questions that will appear on the exam, citing the candidate's severe financial hardship and the dire consequences of failing to gain admission. Faculty member is aware of the strict regulations governing the entrance exam. What is the most ethically and regulatorily sound course of action for the faculty member to take? Option A. Politely but firmly refuse the request, explaining that providing such information would violate the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations and compromise the integrity of the examination process, and report the incident to the examination committee. Option B. Advise the relative that while direct assistance with exam content is not possible, the university might consider the candidate's financial situation for future support programs if they are admitted through the regular examination process. Option C. Agree to provide a few sample questions that are representative of the exam's difficulty level, assuring the relative that these are not actual exam questions, but will help the candidate prepare. Option D. Provide the candidate's relative with a general overview of the subject areas that will be emphasized in the exam, without revealing specific questions, to offer some form of assistance. The correct answer is A. Politely but firmly refuse the request, explaining that providing such information would violate the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations and compromise the integrity of the examination process, and report the incident to the examination committee. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's immediate academic needs and the university's ethical obligations to maintain academic integrity and ensure fair evaluation. The pressure to perform well in a high-stakes entrance exam, coupled with the potential for personal hardship if unsuccessful, can lead to ethically compromised decisions. The university, represented by its examination board and faculty, has a duty to uphold the standards of medical education, which begins with a fair and unbiased entrance process. The correct approach involves prioritizing the integrity of the examination process and adhering strictly to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations. This means ensuring that all candidates are assessed based on their merit and knowledge, without any form of unfair advantage. The university's regulations, as stipulated for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, would mandate a zero-tolerance policy for any form of academic dishonesty, including the provision of unauthorized assistance. Upholding these regulations is paramount to maintaining the credibility of the institution and the future medical professionals it trains. An incorrect approach would be to provide the student with advance information about the exam questions. This directly violates the principle of fair assessment and undermines the entire purpose of a competitive entrance examination. Such an action would be a clear breach of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations concerning academic integrity and would set a dangerous precedent, eroding trust in the examination process. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the student's request and take no action. While this might seem like a neutral stance, it fails to address a potential ethical breach and could be interpreted as tacit approval or negligence. The university has a responsibility to investigate and act upon credible information that suggests a threat to the integrity of its examinations. A third incorrect approach would be to offer the student a conditional admission based on a future, separate assessment. This bypasses the established entrance examination process and creates an unfair advantage for this particular student, while disadvantaging other qualified candidates who have followed the prescribed examination procedures. It also fails to address the immediate ethical concern regarding the potential for cheating in the current exam. The professional decision-making process in such situations requires a commitment to ethical principles, a thorough understanding of the relevant regulations, specifically those governing the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, and a structured approach to problem solving. This involves 1. Identifying the ethical dilemma and potential conflicts of interest. 2. Consulting the relevant institutional policies and examination regulations. 3. Investigating the situation objectively and gathering all necessary information. 4. Making a decision that upholds academic integrity and fairness in accordance with established rules. 5. Documenting the process and the decision. Question 2. Process analysis reveals that during the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, a proctor observes a candidate discreetly using a small, pre-written note concealed within their sleeve. The candidate appears to be referencing this note during the exam. What is the most ethically and procedurally sound course of action for the proctor to take, strictly adhering to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam's regulatory framework? Option A. Confront the candidate directly and discreetly ask them to put away the note. Option B. Discreetly document the observation, including the candidate's identification and the nature of the suspected misconduct, and report it immediately to the chief invigilator or designated examination authority as per the exam's protocol. Option C. Ignore the observation to avoid causing a disturbance or potential conflict with the candidate during the exam. Option D. Make a general announcement to all candidates about the importance of academic integrity without singling out the observed candidate. Correct answer is B. Discreetly document the observation, including the candidate's identification and the nature of the suspected misconduct, and report it immediately to the chief invigilator or designated examination authority as per the exam's protocol. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's academic aspirations and the ethical obligations of the university and its faculty. The pressure to perform well in a high-stakes entrance exam, coupled with the potential for academic misconduct, requires careful judgment to uphold academic integrity and fairness. The university's regulatory framework, as embodied by the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam guidelines, prioritizes honesty, integrity, and equitable opportunity for all candidates. The correct approach involves upholding the integrity of the examination process by reporting the observed misconduct. This aligns with the core ethical principles of academic institutions, which are designed to ensure that admissions are based on merit and fair competition. Specifically, the guidelines for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam would mandate reporting any suspected violations of examination rules to the appropriate authorities. This ensures that the examination remains a valid measure of a candidate's knowledge and aptitude, and that all applicants are evaluated on a level playing field. Failure to report would undermine the credibility of the exam and the admissions process, potentially admitting a less qualified candidate over a more deserving one. An incorrect approach would be to ignore the observed cheating. This failure directly violates the spirit and letter of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations, which implicitly or explicitly require candidates and proctors to uphold the rules. By not reporting, one becomes complicit in the academic dishonesty, thereby compromising the fairness of the exam. Another incorrect approach would be to confront the student directly during the exam. While seemingly proactive, this could disrupt the examination environment for other students, potentially leading to accusations of bias or unfair treatment. Furthermore, without proper authority or established protocol, such a confrontation might escalate and could be misconstrued, creating further complications. The established procedure for handling suspected misconduct, as outlined by the exam regulations, should be followed. A third incorrect approach would be to report the incident anonymously to a general university contact without specifying the exam or the nature of the violation. This lack of specificity might hinder a timely and effective investigation, as the information may not reach the relevant examination committee or proctoring authority promptly. The exam regulations typically prescribe a clear channel for reporting such incidents to ensure swift and appropriate action. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear understanding of the established rules and regulations governing the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam. This includes identifying the specific protocol for reporting academic misconduct. When faced with such a dilemma, a professional should prioritize adherence to these regulations, ensuring that any observed violation is reported through the designated channels to the appropriate authorities for investigation and action. This systematic approach safeguards the integrity of the examination and upholds the ethical standards of the institution. Question 3. The assessment process reveals that a candidate, who is a relative of a prominent university official, has narrowly failed to meet the minimum score required for admission to Alborz University of Medical Sciences. The official has informally expressed a strong desire for this candidate to be admitted, suggesting that the candidate's potential should be considered beyond the strict numerical score. What is the most ethically and regulatorily sound approach for the admissions committee? Option A. Proceed with the objective evaluation, but avoid any discussion or documentation regarding the official's request or the candidate's familial connection to prevent potential conflict. Option B. Recommend the candidate for admission, citing their potential and the official's recommendation to maintain good relations with influential figures. Option C. Adjust the candidate's score or the minimum threshold to ensure their admission, thereby accommodating the official's request. Option D. Uphold the established minimum score requirement and admit only candidates who have met this objective criterion, regardless of external influence or personal connections. The correct answer is D. Uphold the established minimum score requirement and admit only candidates who have met this objective criterion, regardless of external influence or personal connections. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between the university's stated commitment to meritocracy and the potential for bias to influence the evaluation of candidates. The integrity of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam hinges on fair and objective assessment. The pressure to admit a specific candidate, even if unqualified, undermines this principle and could have long-term consequences for the quality of medical professionals produced by the institution. Careful judgment is required to uphold ethical standards and regulatory compliance. The correct approach involves prioritizing the established evaluation criteria and the integrity of the examination process. This means ensuring that all candidates are assessed based on their performance against the defined standards, regardless of any external pressures or personal connections. This aligns with the fundamental ethical principles of fairness, objectivity, and transparency expected in academic admissions, and implicitly with any regulations governing university entrance exams that mandate impartial evaluation. An incorrect approach of yielding to the pressure to admit an unqualified candidate based on personal connections would represent a severe ethical and regulatory failure. It violates the principle of meritocracy, potentially leading to the admission of individuals who lack the necessary aptitude and knowledge, thereby compromising patient care in the future. This action would also undermine the credibility of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences and its entrance examination process. Another incorrect approach of fabricating or manipulating assessment results to justify the admission of an unqualified candidate is a direct act of academic dishonesty and fraud. This not only violates ethical codes, but also likely contravenes specific regulations governing examination integrity and university admissions, which demand truthful and accurate reporting of results. A third incorrect approach of ignoring the pressure and proceeding with the objective evaluation, but failing to document the decision-making process or the reasons for rejecting the unqualified candidate, could still be problematic. While the evaluation itself might be fair, a lack of transparency and accountability in the process can create suspicion and erode trust, potentially leading to accusations of bias even if none existed. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear understanding of the university's admission policies and any relevant regulatory frameworks. When faced with external pressure, the professional must first reaffirm their commitment to these established criteria. If the pressure persists and attempts to compromise the integrity of the process, the professional should document all interactions and concerns, and if necessary, escalate the issue through appropriate internal channels or to regulatory bodies responsible for overseeing university admissions, ensuring that the decision is based solely on objective merit and adherence to regulations. Question 4. Operational review demonstrates that a senior administrator at Alborz University of Medical Sciences has approached a faculty member involved in the upcoming entrance exam, offering them a significant personal benefit in exchange for access to advanced copies of the exam questions to aid their child's preparation. The faculty member is aware of the university's strict policies on academic integrity and fair admissions. What is the most ethically and professionally sound course of action for the faculty member? Option A. Politely but firmly refuse the offer, clearly stating that such actions violate university policy and ethical standards, and immediately report the administrator's offer to the appropriate university oversight committee or designated ethics officer. Option B. Negotiate a lesser form of assistance, such as information about the exam's general subject areas or difficulty level, to help their child without directly compromising the exam questions. Option C. Accept the offer discreetly and use the information to help their child prepare, rationalizing that it is a personal matter and does not directly impact other candidates if handled carefully. Option D. Ignore the offer and hope the administrator does not pursue it further, focusing solely on their exam preparation duties without acknowledging the administrator's proposition. The correct answer is A. Politely but firmly refuse the offer, clearly stating that such actions violate university policy and ethical standards, and immediately report the administrator's offer to the appropriate university oversight committee or designated ethics officer. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's academic aspirations and the ethical obligations of the university to maintain academic integrity and fair admission processes. The pressure to succeed in a highly competitive entrance exam, coupled with the potential for personal gain or influence, creates a complex ethical landscape. Careful judgment is required to navigate these competing interests while upholding the core values of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences. The correct approach involves prioritizing the integrity of the admission process and the ethical guidelines governing university admissions. This means refusing any offer of preferential treatment or information that could compromise the fairness of the exam. The justification lies in the fundamental ethical principles of fairness, transparency, and equal opportunity, which are paramount in educational institutions. Specifically, adherence to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences stated admission policies and ethical conduct codes for faculty and staff would mandate impartiality and the prevention of any undue influence. This approach ensures that all candidates are evaluated on their merits, maintaining the credibility of the university and the medical profession it aims to train. An incorrect approach would be to accept or act upon the offer of preferential treatment. This action constitutes a serious breach of academic ethics and university regulations. It undermines the principle of meritocracy, disadvantages other deserving candidates, and erodes public trust in the institution. Such behavior could lead to severe disciplinary actions, including dismissal from the university and potential legal repercussions, as it violates the spirit and letter of fair competition and academic honesty. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the offer but remain silent, hoping the situation resolves itself without intervention. While this avoids direct participation in unethical conduct, it fails to uphold the professional responsibility to report or address potential breaches of integrity. This inaction allows a compromised situation to persist, indirectly contributing to the erosion of ethical standards. Professional responsibility dictates proactive engagement in maintaining ethical environments. A further incorrect approach would be to attempt to leverage the offer for personal gain without directly participating in the exam's administration, perhaps by seeking information about the exam's difficulty or format. This still represents an unethical attempt to gain an unfair advantage and violates the principles of academic integrity. It demonstrates a lack of commitment to fair play and can still lead to reputational damage for both the individual and the institution if discovered. A professional decision-making process in such a situation should involve a clear understanding of the university's ethical code and admission policies. When faced with a potential ethical dilemma, a professional should first identify the core ethical principles at stake. Then, they should consider the potential consequences of various actions, both for themselves and for the institution. Seeking guidance from a trusted supervisor or ethics committee, if available, is a crucial step. Ultimately, the decision must align with the highest ethical standards and regulatory requirements, prioritizing integrity and fairness above all else. Question 5. Upon reviewing the application materials for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, a faculty member notices that a relative of a high-ranking official has submitted their application. The official, through a discreet communication, expresses a strong desire for their relative to be admitted and subtly hints at the possibility of future institutional support if their admission is facilitated. The faculty member is aware of the official's influence and the potential benefits of such support for the university. What is the most ethically and professionally appropriate course of action for the faculty member? Option A. Consider the request and subtly adjust the evaluation criteria to give the applicant a slight advantage, rationalizing that the potential institutional support outweighs the minor deviation from strict merit. Option B. Ignore the communication from the official, hoping the issue will resolve itself without direct involvement, and proceed with the evaluation as usual. Option C. Discuss the request with the applicant's relative, offering general advice on how to best prepare for the exam, which might indirectly benefit their performance. Option D. Politely but firmly decline any consideration of the request, emphasizing the university's commitment to a merit-based admission process, and report the interaction to the relevant university ethics committee. Correct answer is D. Politely but firmly decline any consideration of the request, emphasizing the university's commitment to a merit-based admission process, and report the interaction to the relevant university ethics committee. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's academic aspirations and the ethical obligations of the university to maintain academic integrity and fair admission processes. The pressure to succeed in a highly competitive entrance exam, coupled with the potential for personal gain or influence, creates a situation where ethical boundaries can be tested. Careful judgment is required to uphold the principles of fairness, transparency, and meritocracy. The correct approach involves upholding the integrity of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance examination process by refusing any form of undue influence or preferential treatment. This aligns with the fundamental ethical principles of academic institutions, which are bound by regulations and guidelines to ensure that admissions are based solely on merit and objective assessment. Specifically, the university's internal regulations and the national guidelines for medical school admissions in Iran would mandate a strict adherence to fair examination procedures, prohibiting any actions that could compromise the validity of the results or create an unfair advantage for any candidate. This approach prioritizes the long-term reputation and credibility of the institution and the medical profession. An incorrect approach would be to consider or act upon the request for preferential treatment. This would constitute a serious ethical breach and a violation of the university's admission policies. Such an action would undermine the principle of equal opportunity for all applicants, potentially admitting less qualified candidates and disadvantaging those who have prepared diligently and ethically. This could lead to severe repercussions, including disciplinary action against the individual involved, invalidation of the student's admission, and damage to the university's standing. Furthermore, it would violate the trust placed in the university by the public and the Ministry of Health and Medical Education. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the request without taking any action. While seemingly neutral, this inaction allows the unethical request to persist and potentially create an environment where such pressures are normalized. It fails to actively defend the integrity of the admission process and does not address the underlying ethical concern. A third incorrect approach would be to attempt to subtly influence the process without explicit agreement, perhaps by providing general advice that could be interpreted as a hint. This is still a violation of ethical principles, as it introduces an element of bias, however minor, and deviates from the principle of a completely objective assessment. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear understanding of the university's ethical code and admission regulations. When faced with an unethical request, the professional should immediately recognize the conflict of interest and the potential for compromising academic integrity. The immediate and unequivocal rejection of the request, followed by reporting the incident to the appropriate authorities within the university, e.g., the admissions committee or the ethics board, is the most responsible course of action. This ensures that the situation is handled transparently and in accordance with established procedures, safeguarding the fairness and credibility of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance examination. Question 6. Quality control measures reveal a significant discrepancy in the security logs for a specific batch of examination papers for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, suggesting a potential breach in their confidentiality prior to distribution. As a member of the examination committee, what is the most ethically and procedurally sound immediate action to take? Option A. Proceed with the distribution of all examination papers as scheduled, assuming the discrepancy is a minor technical glitch and not a genuine security threat. Option B. Publicly announce the potential breach to all candidates to ensure transparency and allow them to prepare for potential exam rescheduling or modifications. Option C. Instruct the IT department to immediately erase the suspicious security logs to prevent any further scrutiny and maintain the appearance of a flawless process. Option D. Initiate a formal, confidential investigation into the discrepancy, following established university protocols for exam security breaches, while temporarily securing the affected batch of papers. Correct answer is D. Initiate a formal, confidential investigation into the discrepancy, following established university protocols for exam security breaches, while temporarily securing the affected batch of papers. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge rooted in the ethical obligation to maintain academic integrity and ensure fair assessment for all candidates applying to Alborz University of Medical Sciences. The discovery of a potential breach in the entrance exam's quality control measures, specifically concerning the security of examination materials, necessitates a swift and principled response. The core of the challenge lies in balancing the need to investigate thoroughly and uphold the exam's validity with the potential impact on candidates and the university's reputation. Careful judgment is required to determine the most appropriate course of action that aligns with established ethical guidelines and university regulations. The correct approach involves immediately initiating a formal investigation into the alleged breach, adhering strictly to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences established protocols for exam security and integrity. This approach is right because it prioritizes transparency, fairness, and the upholding of academic standards. By launching an official inquiry, the university demonstrates its commitment to a rigorous and unbiased assessment process, as mandated by its own internal regulations and the broader ethical principles governing medical education admissions. This systematic investigation allows for the collection of evidence, identification of the scope of the problem, and the implementation of corrective actions, thereby safeguarding the credibility of the entrance exam and ensuring that admission decisions are based on merit. An incorrect approach would be to dismiss the quality control findings without a thorough investigation. This failure would violate the university's commitment to academic integrity and could lead to the admission of unqualified candidates, undermining the quality of future medical professionals. Another incorrect approach would be to immediately disqualify all candidates without due process. This would be an overreaction, potentially penalizing innocent individuals and causing undue distress, and would also fail to adhere to the principles of fairness and due process that should govern any disciplinary action. Finally, attempting to conceal the breach to avoid negative publicity would be a severe ethical and regulatory failure, eroding trust and potentially leading to more significant repercussions if discovered later. Professionals in this situation should employ a decision-making framework that begins with acknowledging the reported issue and immediately activating established internal procedures for handling academic integrity concerns. This involves consulting relevant university policies and seeking guidance from appropriate administrative bodies. The process should prioritize evidence gathering, impartial analysis, and adherence to due process for all involved parties. Transparency, fairness, and the ultimate goal of maintaining the integrity of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance examination should guide every step. Question 7. The evaluation methodology shows that the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam is designed to assess candidates based on their academic merit and preparedness. You are a current student at the university, and a close friend confides in you that they are struggling with their preparation for the upcoming entrance exam, and asks for any insights you might have about the exam's difficulty or specific topics that are heavily emphasized. You have recently seen some preliminary, confidential materials related to the exam structure. How should you respond to your friend's request? Option A. Politely decline to provide any specific information about the exam, explaining that you are bound by confidentiality and cannot share any details that could compromise the integrity of the entrance examination process. Option B. Advise your friend to focus on memorizing specific facts and figures that you recall from the confidential materials, as these are likely to be tested directly. Option C. Share general observations about the exam's difficulty and suggest focusing on broad subject areas that are typically important for medical school admissions, without revealing any specific confidential details. Option D. Provide your friend with a summary of the confidential materials you have seen, highlighting key topics and question types that are likely to appear on the exam. The correct answer is A. Politely decline to provide any specific information about the exam, explaining that you are bound by confidentiality and cannot share any details that could compromise the integrity of the entrance examination process. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge rooted in the ethical obligation of honesty and integrity within the academic and medical fields, specifically concerning the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam. The core dilemma lies in balancing the desire to assist a close acquaintance with the paramount duty to uphold the fairness and validity of the examination process. Misrepresenting information, even with good intentions, undermines the competitive and merit-based selection process, potentially admitting less qualified candidates and disadvantaging others who have prepared diligently and ethically. The correct approach involves upholding the integrity of the examination by refusing to provide any unauthorized assistance or information that could compromise the exam's fairness. This aligns with the fundamental ethical principles of honesty, fairness, and professional responsibility expected of all individuals associated with the Alborz University of Medical Sciences, including its students and faculty. Specifically, it adheres to the implicit regulations and ethical guidelines governing university entrance exams, which prioritize meritocratic selection and prevent any form of academic dishonesty or unfair advantage. Providing confidential exam information would violate these principles and potentially lead to disciplinary action. An incorrect approach would be to share any details about the exam content or format, even in a generalized manner, to a friend. This action constitutes a breach of confidentiality and an attempt to provide an unfair advantage, directly contravening the ethical standards of academic integrity. Such a failure erodes trust in the examination system and devalues the achievements of genuinely qualified candidates. Another incorrect approach would be to offer vague advice that, while not directly revealing exam content, could still be interpreted as guidance derived from privileged information. This skirts the edges of ethical conduct and can still create an appearance of impropriety, potentially leading to accusations of favoritism or unfair assistance. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear recognition of the ethical boundaries. First, identify the conflict between personal relationships and professional obligations. Second, consult relevant university policies or ethical codes if available, though the core principles of honesty and fairness are universally applicable. Third, prioritize the integrity of the institution and the fairness of the process over personal desires to help. Fourth, communicate clearly and respectfully to the friend, explaining the inability to assist due to ethical and regulatory constraints, perhaps offering general study advice that is publicly available. Question 8. Examination of the data shows that a candidate preparing for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam has encountered numerous unofficial online forums and study guides that claim to offer insider information on the most likely topics and question types. Some of these sources suggest focusing on highly specific, advanced subtopics that are not explicitly detailed in the official syllabus, while others emphasize memorizing obscure facts. The candidate is feeling pressure to perform well and is considering dedicating a significant portion of their study time to these unofficial resources. Based on the regulatory framework for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, what is the most ethically sound and professionally responsible approach for the candidate to take? Option A. Dedicate the majority of study time to the advanced subtopics and obscure facts highlighted in unofficial online forums and study guides, as these are likely to differentiate candidates and demonstrate a higher level of knowledge. Option B. Disregard the official syllabus and focus exclusively on the most frequently discussed topics in unofficial online forums, assuming these represent the most probable content of the exam. Option C. Prioritize studying the official syllabus and recommended reading materials provided by Alborz University of Medical Sciences, using unofficial sources only for supplementary clarification on core concepts, if absolutely necessary, and cross-referenced with official materials. Option D. Focus on topics that are generally perceived as difficult or important within the medical field, as suggested by peers and unofficial online discussion, even if they are not explicitly listed in the official syllabus. The correct answer is C. Prioritize studying the official syllabus and recommended reading materials provided by Alborz University of Medical Sciences, using unofficial sources only for supplementary clarification on core concepts, if absolutely necessary, and cross-referenced with official materials. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic success and the ethical obligation to uphold academic integrity. The pressure to perform well in a high-stakes entrance exam, coupled with the availability of potentially misleading information, creates a complex decision-making environment. Careful judgment is required to navigate this situation without compromising ethical principles or the integrity of the examination process. The correct approach involves prioritizing the official examination guidelines and syllabus provided by Alborz University of Medical Sciences. This approach is right because it directly adheres to the established regulatory framework for the entrance exam. By focusing solely on the officially sanctioned materials, the student demonstrates respect for the examination's authority and ensures that their preparation is aligned with the university's stated learning objectives and assessment criteria. This upholds the principle of fairness and equal opportunity for all candidates, as everyone is expected to prepare based on the same official resources. An incorrect approach would be to rely heavily on unofficial online forums or unofficial study guides that claim to predict exam content. This is ethically unacceptable because it deviates from the official curriculum and introduces the risk of misinformation. Such an approach undermines the integrity of the examination by attempting to gain an unfair advantage through unverified sources, potentially leading to wasted study time on irrelevant material or, worse, preparing with incorrect information. Another incorrect approach would be to prioritize memorizing obscure facts or advanced topics not explicitly covered in the official syllabus, based on rumors from unofficial sources. This is professionally unsound, as it demonstrates a misunderstanding of the examination's scope and purpose. Entrance exams are designed to assess foundational knowledge and understanding relevant to the field, not to test the ability to recall trivia or highly specialized information that falls outside the defined curriculum. This approach also risks neglecting core competencies that are likely to be tested. A third incorrect approach would be to disregard the official syllabus entirely and focus only on topics that are perceived as difficult or important based on anecdotal evidence from peers. This is ethically problematic as it shows a lack of discipline and respect for the established examination structure. It suggests a belief that personal interpretation of importance outweighs the university's explicit guidance, potentially leading to an unbalanced preparation that misses key areas. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a systematic evaluation of information sources. First, always identify and prioritize official documentation from the examining institution. Second, critically assess the credibility and relevance of any unofficial information, understanding that it may be inaccurate or misleading. Third, align study efforts with the stated learning outcomes and syllabus. Finally, consult official channels for clarification if any aspect of the examination requirements is unclear. This structured approach ensures that preparation is both effective and ethically sound, respecting the integrity of the academic process. Question 9. Assessment of a candidate's behavior during the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance examination, where a proctor observes a student discreetly using a small electronic device hidden in their sleeve, presents an ethical quandary. The proctor is aware that the university has strict regulations against any form of cheating or academic dishonesty. What is the most ethically and procedurally sound course of action for the proctor? Option A. Ignore the observation to avoid disrupting the examination environment and potentially causing distress to the student. Option B. Discreetly observe the student for the remainder of the exam to gather more evidence before reporting. Option C. Report the observed suspicious behavior and the suspected use of an electronic device to the examination supervisor or designated authority for investigation. Option D. Immediately confiscate the device and dismiss the student from the examination hall, informing them of the suspected violation. The correct answer is D. Immediately confiscate the device and dismiss the student from the examination hall, informing them of the suspected violation. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's academic aspirations and the ethical obligations of the university and its faculty. The pressure to succeed in a highly competitive entrance exam, coupled with the potential for academic misconduct, necessitates careful judgment and adherence to established ethical guidelines. The university's commitment to academic integrity and fair assessment is paramount. The correct approach involves prioritizing the integrity of the examination process and upholding the university's ethical standards. This means reporting the observed misconduct to the appropriate authorities within Alborz University of Medical Sciences, such as the Examination Committee or the Academic Integrity Office. This action aligns with the university's regulatory framework, which mandates reporting of academic dishonesty to ensure a fair and equitable assessment for all candidates. It upholds the principle of honesty and fairness, which are foundational to medical education and practice. An incorrect approach would be to ignore the observed behavior. This failure to act would undermine the principles of academic integrity and fairness, potentially allowing an unqualified candidate to gain an unfair advantage. It also violates the implicit duty to uphold the standards of the institution. Another incorrect approach would be to confront the student directly and attempt to resolve the issue without involving the official university channels. This could lead to an escalation of the situation, potential accusations of bias, and an inability to ensure a proper investigation and disciplinary process as dictated by the university's regulations. Furthermore, it bypasses the established procedures for handling academic misconduct, which are designed to be impartial and thorough. Professionals in this situation should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes ethical conduct and adherence to institutional policies. This involves 1. Recognizing the ethical dilemma and the potential for academic misconduct. 2. Consulting the relevant Alborz University of Medical Sciences regulations and guidelines concerning academic integrity and examination procedures. 3. Reporting the observed incident through the designated official channels, providing factual and objective information. 4. Cooperating fully with any subsequent investigation. This systematic approach ensures that decisions are grounded in ethical principles and institutional requirements, safeguarding the integrity of the examination process. Question 10. Which approach would be most ethically sound and procedurally appropriate for a faculty member at Alborz University of Medical Sciences who observes a student exhibiting signs of significant personal distress that might impact their academic performance and potentially their future practice? Option A. Discuss the observations with other faculty members and students to gather opinions and gauge the severity of the student's distress. Option B. Immediately contact the student's family to inform them of the observed distress and seek their assistance in managing the situation. Option C. Document the observations privately and take no further action, assuming the student will manage their own issues. Option D. Initiate a confidential internal review process, consulting with university student support services and relevant academic advisors to assess the situation and determine appropriate support or intervention, while respecting the student's privacy. The correct answer is D. Initiate a confidential internal review process, consulting with university student support services and relevant academic advisors to assess the situation and determine appropriate support or intervention, while respecting the student's privacy. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge rooted in the ethical obligation of confidentiality versus the potential need to disclose information for the well-being of others, specifically within the context of a medical education environment. The challenge lies in balancing the privacy rights of a student with the responsibility of the university to ensure a safe and effective learning environment for all students and staff. Careful judgment is required to avoid both breaches of confidentiality and potential harm. The correct approach involves a structured, confidential internal review process that prioritizes gathering accurate information and assessing risk without immediate, broad disclosure. This approach aligns with the principles of due process and the ethical guidelines governing educational institutions, which typically mandate a thorough investigation before any disciplinary action or wider notification. Specifically, it respects the student's right to privacy while allowing the university to fulfill its duty of care. The process would involve consulting relevant university policies on student conduct, mental health support, and academic integrity, ensuring that any actions taken are proportionate and evidence-based. This methodical approach minimizes the risk of unfounded accusations and protects the student's academic future while addressing legitimate concerns. An incorrect approach would be to immediately report the student's perceived distress to their family without their consent or a clear, established protocol for such situations. This violates the principle of confidentiality and could have severe negative consequences for the student's relationship with the university and their family, potentially exacerbating their distress. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the observations due to a desire to avoid conflict or a misinterpretation of professional boundaries. This failure to act could endanger the student or others if the perceived distress indicates a serious risk. Finally, discussing the student's situation with other students or faculty outside of a need-to-know basis for investigation purposes would constitute a breach of confidentiality and unprofessional conduct, undermining trust within the academic community. Professionals in such situations should employ a decision-making framework that begins with observation and documentation, followed by consultation with appropriate university resources such as student affairs, counseling services, or a designated ethics committee. This ensures that decisions are informed by expertise and institutional policy, and that interventions are supportive and appropriate to the assessed risk. The focus should always be on the student's well-being and the integrity of the educational environment, guided by established ethical and regulatory frameworks. Question 11. Implementation of a fair and unbiased assessment process for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam is paramount. During the examination, a fellow candidate discreetly offers to share answers to a difficult question, stating they have already completed it and want to help. You firmly decline this offer, and the candidate then withdraws their attempt to share. Considering the ethical guidelines and regulations governing university entrance examinations, what is the most appropriate professional response in this situation? Option A. Accept the offer of assistance to ensure you do not fall behind other candidates. Option B. Immediately report the candidate to the examination proctor for attempting to offer unauthorized assistance. Option C. Discuss the incident with the candidate after the exam to understand their motivation. Option D. Firmly decline the offer and continue with your own examination without further action. The correct answer is B. Immediately report the candidate to the examination proctor for attempting to offer unauthorized assistance. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic advancement and the ethical imperative to uphold academic integrity. The pressure to perform well in a high-stakes entrance exam, coupled with potential personal or familial expectations, can lead individuals to consider unethical shortcuts. The core of the challenge lies in balancing the pursuit of educational opportunities with the fundamental principles of honesty and fairness that underpin the academic system. Careful judgment is required to navigate this situation without compromising personal integrity or the integrity of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences. The correct approach involves prioritizing academic honesty and adhering strictly to the examination rules and regulations. This means refraining from any form of cheating or seeking unauthorized assistance. The justification for this approach is rooted in the ethical guidelines and regulations governing academic institutions, which universally condemn academic dishonesty. Specifically, for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, adherence to the established examination protocols, which prohibit the use of external aids or collaboration, is paramount. Upholding these standards ensures a fair and equitable assessment for all candidates and maintains the credibility of the university's admissions process. An incorrect approach would be to accept the offer of assistance from a peer, even if it seems minor or intended to help. This action directly violates the principles of academic integrity and the explicit rules of the examination. The regulatory framework for university entrance exams, including that of Alborz University of Medical Sciences, strictly prohibits any form of collusion or unauthorized assistance. Engaging in such behavior undermines the fairness of the competition and devalues the achievements of honest candidates. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the offer of assistance, but to feel pressured to perform exceptionally well, leading to increased anxiety and potentially compromising focus. While not directly cheating, allowing external pressure to dictate one's mental state during an exam can indirectly lead to poor decision-making or an inability to perform to one's true potential, which is not an ethical failure in itself, but a consequence of not managing the situation appropriately. However, if this anxiety leads to a desperate attempt to find an advantage, it could then cross into unethical territory. The ethical failure here is in not proactively managing the situation and potentially succumbing to undue pressure. A third incorrect approach would be to report the peer for offering assistance without first considering the context or attempting to de-escalate the situation. While reporting misconduct is important, a professional approach often involves a graduated response. In this specific scenario, the offer was made and then withdrawn. A more measured response would be to firmly decline the offer and focus on the exam. Reporting without further consideration might be seen as overly punitive and could damage peer relationships unnecessarily, though the ultimate decision to report would depend on the severity and persistence of the offer. The ethical failure here lies in a potentially disproportionate response to a situation that was resolved by the student's own refusal. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of ethical principles and regulatory requirements. First, identify the ethical dilemma and the relevant rules. Second, assess the potential consequences of each course of action. Third, choose the option that best upholds integrity and fairness, even if it is more difficult. In this case, the immediate and firm refusal of unauthorized assistance is the most ethically sound and professionally responsible decision. If the offer were more persistent or coercive, then escalating the issue through official channels would become necessary. Question 12. The performance metrics show a significant disparity in the number of qualified applicants from underprivileged regions compared to the allocated admission quotas for these areas in the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, alongside a projected shortfall in funding for essential laboratory equipment. Considering the regulatory framework of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences and the guidelines set forth by the Ministry of Health and Medical Education, MOM, for medical school admissions in Iran, which of the following represents the most appropriate course of action for the university's admissions committee? Option A. Immediately increase the admission quota for underprivileged regions to accommodate all qualified applicants from these areas, regardless of existing quotas or funding limitations, to address the immediate disparity. Option B. Inform the qualified applicants from underprivileged regions that, due to funding constraints and existing quotas, they cannot be admitted, and advise them to seek opportunities in other institutions. Option C. Propose a temporary adjustment to the admission quota for underprivileged regions, contingent on securing additional funding for laboratory equipment, and submit this proposal for approval by the relevant university authorities and MOM, while simultaneously exploring internal reallocation of existing funds for equipment. Option D. Prioritize the acquisition of laboratory equipment by reallocating funds that would have been used to support students from underprivileged regions, thereby maintaining the current admission quotas. The correct answer is C. Propose a temporary adjustment to the admission quota for underprivileged regions, contingent on securing additional funding for laboratory equipment, and submit this proposal for approval by the relevant university authorities and MOM, while simultaneously exploring internal reallocation of existing funds for equipment. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate need for resources with the long-term implications of resource allocation and the ethical considerations of fairness and equity in access to education. The Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, like any competitive academic selection process, must adhere to established regulations and ethical guidelines to ensure transparency, fairness, and meritocracy. The university's governing bodies and the Ministry of Health and Medical Education, MOM, in Iran would have specific directives regarding admission criteria, resource utilization, and the ethical conduct of examinations. The correct approach involves a thorough review of existing regulations and guidelines from the Alborz University of Medical Sciences and the MOM concerning admission quotas, financial aid, and the prioritization of student needs. This approach prioritizes adherence to established legal and ethical frameworks, ensuring that any decisions made are justifiable and transparent. It involves consulting with relevant university committees and potentially seeking clarification from regulatory bodies to ensure compliance. This aligns with the principle of good governance and the ethical obligation to uphold the integrity of the admission process. An incorrect approach would be to unilaterally reallocate funds or adjust admission criteria based solely on perceived immediate needs without proper authorization or adherence to established procedures. This could lead to accusations of favoritism, discrimination, or a breach of regulatory compliance. For instance, prioritizing certain applicants over others based on subjective criteria or without a clear, documented policy would violate principles of fairness and equal opportunity, which are fundamental to educational admissions. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the performance metrics altogether and proceed with a decision that is not data-informed, potentially leading to inefficient resource allocation and failing to address the underlying issues highlighted by the metrics. This demonstrates a lack of due diligence and a disregard for the evidence presented. Professionals in this situation should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the problem as presented by the performance metrics. This involves identifying the relevant stakeholders and their interests, reviewing all applicable regulations and policies from Alborz University of Medical Sciences and the MOM, and gathering all necessary data. The next step is to evaluate potential solutions against these regulations and ethical principles, considering the impact on all stakeholders. Seeking expert advice from legal counsel or relevant university departments, and documenting all decisions and the rationale behind them are crucial steps in ensuring a sound and defensible outcome. Question 13. During the evaluation of their performance in a critical section of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, an applicant notices another candidate exhibiting behavior that, while not explicitly forbidden, seems to suggest they might have access to information or resources beyond what is permitted. The applicant feels this could unfairly disadvantage them. What is the most appropriate course of action for the applicant to take? Option A. Discreetly approach the other candidate and inquire about their perceived advantage. Option B. Make a mental note of the behavior and discuss it with fellow applicants after the exam to gauge their opinions. Option C. Immediately report the observed behavior to the examination invigilator, demanding an investigation into the other candidate's actions. Option D. Focus solely on their own exam performance and trust the integrity of the examination process without taking any action regarding the observed behavior. The correct answer is D. Focus solely on their own exam performance and trust the integrity of the examination process without taking any action regarding the observed behavior. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for an applicant to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam due to the inherent conflict between personal ambition and the ethical obligations of academic integrity. The applicant is faced with a situation where they perceive a potential advantage for another candidate, which could unfairly impact their own chances of admission. Navigating this requires a deep understanding of the university's admission policies and ethical guidelines, which are paramount in maintaining a fair and transparent selection process. The correct approach involves prioritizing the integrity of the examination process and adhering strictly to the established rules and regulations of Alborz University of Medical Sciences. This means refraining from any action that could be construed as an attempt to influence the examination outcome or to gain an unfair advantage. Instead, the applicant should focus on their own preparation and performance, trusting in the fairness of the evaluation system. This approach is ethically sound and aligns with the principles of academic honesty expected of future medical professionals. It upholds the university's commitment to selecting candidates based on merit and suitability, ensuring that all applicants are judged by the same objective standards. An incorrect approach would be to engage in any form of communication or action aimed at questioning or challenging the perceived advantage of another candidate without concrete evidence or through official channels. This could involve directly confronting the other candidate or attempting to alert examination officials in a manner that is disruptive or accusatory without proper substantiation. Such actions undermine the examination's integrity, create an unprofessional environment, and could lead to disciplinary measures. They demonstrate a lack of respect for the established procedures and an unwillingness to accept the outcomes of a fair evaluation. Furthermore, acting on suspicion rather than verified fact can lead to false accusations and damage the reputation of both the individual and the institution. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear assessment of the facts, a thorough understanding of the relevant university regulations and ethical codes, and a commitment to acting with integrity. If an applicant genuinely believes there is a procedural irregularity, the appropriate course of action is to discreetly and respectfully report their concerns through the official channels designated by Alborz University of Medical Sciences for addressing examination-related issues, rather than taking matters into their own hands or engaging in speculative actions. Question 14. The control framework reveals that the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam is designed to identify candidates with the highest aptitude for medical studies. However, a senior faculty member, who is also a close acquaintance of a promising applicant, suggests that the applicant's entrance exam score might be slightly below the typical threshold for admission, but that their potential warrants special consideration. This faculty member implies that a degree of flexibility in the evaluation process could be beneficial for the university's reputation. What is the most appropriate course of action for the admissions committee? Option A. Strictly adhere to the established entrance exam score cutoffs and academic evaluation criteria as per the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations, ensuring all decisions are based on objective merit. Option B. Discreetly adjust the applicant's entrance exam score or reevaluate their application using a less stringent set of criteria to ensure their admission, thereby acknowledging the faculty member's influence and the applicant's perceived potential. Option C. Consider the applicant's potential and the faculty member's recommendation as significant factors, allowing for a degree of subjective adjustment to the admission criteria to accommodate this promising candidate. Option D. Initiate a separate review process for this applicant, based on the faculty member's informal endorsement, to assess their potential outside the standard examination and evaluation framework. The correct answer is A. Strictly adhere to the established entrance exam score cutoffs and academic evaluation criteria, as per the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations, ensuring all decisions are based on objective merit. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between the university's need to attract qualified candidates and the ethical imperative to ensure a fair and transparent admissions process. The pressure to meet enrollment targets can inadvertently lead to compromises in the integrity of selection criteria. Careful judgment is required to balance institutional goals with the principles of academic merit and equal opportunity, as mandated by the regulatory framework governing medical education admissions in Iran. The correct approach involves a rigorous and objective evaluation of all applicants based solely on the established academic criteria and entrance exam performance, as outlined by the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations. This ensures that selection is merit-based, transparent, and free from undue influence or bias, upholding the principle of equal opportunity for all aspiring medical students. This aligns with the overarching goal of producing competent healthcare professionals through a fair and equitable selection process. An incorrect approach that prioritizes personal connections or informal recommendations over objective assessment violates the spirit and letter of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations. Such actions undermine the credibility of the admissions process, create an unfair advantage for some candidates, and can lead to the selection of individuals who may not be the most academically suited, potentially impacting the quality of future medical practitioners. This also constitutes a breach of ethical conduct expected of university officials. Another incorrect approach that involves altering or manipulating exam scores or admission criteria to accommodate specific candidates is a severe violation of academic integrity and regulatory compliance. This not only defrauds other applicants, but also compromises the university's reputation and the standards of medical education. It directly contravenes the principles of fairness and meritocracy that are fundamental to any reputable educational institution. A professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear understanding of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations and the ethical code of conduct for academic institutions. When faced with pressure or requests that deviate from these established guidelines, professionals must 1. Reaffirm the established selection criteria and procedures. 2. Politely but firmly decline any requests that compromise the integrity of the process, citing regulatory requirements and ethical obligations. 3. Escalate concerns to appropriate supervisory bodies or ethics committees if pressure persists or if there is evidence of non-compliance. 4. Maintain meticulous documentation of all interactions and decisions related to the admissions process. Question 15. Performance analysis shows that a member of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences Entrance Examination Committee has a close personal friendship with one of the applicants. This applicant has achieved scores that place them within the competitive range for admission. What is the most ethically sound and procedurally correct course of action for the committee member? Option A. Immediately disclose the personal friendship to the examination committee chair and recuse themselves from any discussion or decision-making concerning the applicant's admission. Option B. Discreetly advocate for the applicant's admission to other committee members, citing their strong academic performance. Option C. Evaluate the applicant's application independently, believing their personal objectivity can overcome any potential bias. Option D. Proceed with the evaluation without mentioning the friendship, assuming it will not influence their judgment. The correct answer is A. Immediately disclose the personal friendship to the examination committee chair and recuse themselves from any discussion or decision-making concerning the applicant's admission. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for an admissions committee member at Alborz University of Medical Sciences, requiring them to balance the university's commitment to academic merit with the ethical imperative of fair and unbiased evaluation. The challenge lies in navigating potential conflicts of interest and ensuring that personal relationships do not compromise the integrity of the entrance examination process, which is governed by the specific regulations and guidelines of Alborz University of Medical Sciences. The correct approach involves prioritizing transparency and adherence to the university's established conflict of interest policies. This means proactively disclosing any potential conflicts and recusing oneself from any decision-making processes that could be influenced by personal relationships. This upholds the principle of fairness and ensures that all applicants are evaluated solely on their merits, as mandated by the university's commitment to an equitable selection process. An incorrect approach would be to proceed with evaluating the applicant without disclosure, attempting to remain impartial despite the personal connection. This fails to acknowledge the inherent risk of unconscious bias and violates the ethical obligation to avoid even the appearance of impropriety, which is a cornerstone of professional conduct in academic admissions. Another incorrect approach would be to subtly advocate for the applicant, believing that their personal relationship justifies a more lenient evaluation. This directly undermines the principle of meritocracy and compromises the integrity of the examination process, violating the university's standards for objective assessment. Finally, ignoring the relationship and proceeding as if it does not exist is a failure to uphold professional responsibility and ethical diligence, as it neglects a known factor that could influence judgment. Professionals in such situations should employ a decision-making framework that begins with identifying potential conflicts of interest. This is followed by consulting relevant university policies and ethical guidelines. The next step is to disclose any identified conflicts to the appropriate authority within the university. Based on the nature of the conflict and university policy, the professional should then recuse themselves from any decision-making or evaluation processes directly related to the applicant in question. This systematic approach ensures that personal relationships do not compromise the fairness and integrity of the admissions process. Question 16. The control framework reveals that a prospective applicant to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam has inadvertently gained access to a preliminary draft of a specific section of the examination paper during a casual interaction with a university staff member. This draft contains questions that are highly likely to appear in the actual exam. The applicant is now faced with a decision regarding how to proceed. Which of the following actions best aligns with the ethical and regulatory expectations for candidates of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam? Option A. Share the information about the draft with a close friend who is also applying to the same program, suggesting they also focus their studies accordingly. Option B. Immediately report the discovery of the draft examination material to the designated Examination Oversight Committee or relevant administrative office of Alborz University of Medical Sciences. Option C. Discreetly use the information from the draft to focus preparation on those specific topics and question types for the upcoming exam. Option D. Proceed with the exam without mentioning the discovered information, assuming it may not be used or that the exam will be significantly altered. The correct answer is B. Immediately report the discovery of the draft examination material to the designated Examination Oversight Committee or relevant administrative office of Alborz University of Medical Sciences. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for an applicant to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam due to the inherent conflict between personal ambition and the ethical obligations of academic integrity. The applicant is privy to information that could unfairly advantage them in the examination, creating a dilemma between seeking personal gain and upholding the principles of fairness and equal opportunity that are foundational to educational institutions. Careful judgment is required to navigate this situation without compromising ethical standards. The correct approach involves immediately reporting the discovered information to the appropriate examination authorities. This action upholds the principle of academic integrity, ensuring a fair and equitable testing environment for all candidates. By proactively disclosing the information, the applicant demonstrates a commitment to ethical conduct and respects the established rules and regulations of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam. This aligns with the overarching goal of such examinations to select candidates based on merit and preparedness, not through unfair advantage. An incorrect approach would be to utilize the discovered information to prepare for the exam. This action directly violates the ethical obligation of academic honesty and constitutes academic misconduct. It undermines the fairness of the examination process and devalues the achievements of other candidates who have prepared through legitimate means. Such behavior would be a serious breach of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam regulations and could lead to severe penalties, including disqualification and potential blacklisting from future academic pursuits. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the information and proceed with the exam as if nothing had happened. While seemingly passive, this inaction still represents a failure to uphold ethical responsibilities. By not reporting the information, the applicant implicitly allows for a potentially unfair advantage to exist, thereby contributing to an environment where academic integrity is compromised. This passive complicity is ethically problematic and fails to address the root issue of potential unfairness. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the ethical principles governing academic and professional conduct. This includes prioritizing honesty, integrity, and fairness. When faced with a situation that presents a potential conflict of interest or an opportunity for unfair advantage, the professional should first identify the relevant rules and regulations. Then, they should assess the potential consequences of different actions, both for themselves and for others involved. The decision should always lean towards the option that best upholds ethical standards and promotes a fair and just environment, even if it means forgoing a personal advantage. In this context, immediate and transparent reporting to the examination authorities is the only ethically sound course of action. Question 17. The control framework reveals that a candidate for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam has inadvertently gained access to a document containing potential questions or sensitive information related to the examination content prior to the official start time. What is the most ethically and regulatorily sound course of action for this candidate? Option A. Share the information within the document with fellow candidates to ensure fairness for everyone. Option B. Ignore the document and proceed with the exam as if it were never found. Option C. Immediately report the discovery of the document and its contents to the examination proctors or designated officials. Option D. Discreetly review the document to gain an advantage, assuming it might not be discovered. The correct answer is C. Immediately report the discovery of the document and its contents to the examination proctors or designated officials. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for an applicant to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam due to the inherent conflict between academic integrity and the pressure to succeed. The applicant is faced with a situation where they possess information that could unfairly advantage them, potentially compromising the fairness and validity of the examination process. Careful judgment is required to navigate this ethical dilemma, ensuring adherence to the principles of academic honesty and equal opportunity for all candidates. The correct approach involves immediately reporting the discovered information to the examination authorities. This action upholds the integrity of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam by ensuring a level playing field for all applicants. It aligns with the fundamental ethical principles of honesty and fairness expected of future medical professionals. By proactively disclosing the information, the applicant demonstrates a commitment to ethical conduct, which is paramount in the medical field. This aligns with the implicit understanding that all candidates are expected to participate in the examination process without undue advantage. An incorrect approach of ignoring the information and proceeding with the exam would be a failure of ethical responsibility. It would allow an unfair advantage to persist, undermining the credibility of the examination and potentially admitting a candidate based on compromised circumstances. This violates the principle of academic integrity and fairness, Another incorrect approach of attempting to use the information discreetly during the exam, even if not directly asked about it, constitutes academic dishonesty. This is a direct violation of examination rules and ethical standards, as it involves leveraging privileged knowledge to gain an unfair advantage. Such an action would demonstrate a lack of integrity, critical flaw for anyone aspiring to enter the medical profession. A further incorrect approach of discussing the discovered information with other candidates before or during the exam would be a breach of confidentiality and an attempt to collaterally influence the examination process. This not only compromises the integrity of the exam, but also potentially involves other individuals in unethical behavior, further exacerbating the situation. The professional reasoning process for such situations involves a clear prioritization of ethical principles over personal gain. Applicants should first identify the potential ethical conflict. Then, they must consult the specific regulations and guidelines of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam to understand their obligations. In cases of doubt or clear ethical breaches, the most responsible action is to report the issue to the designated authorities, seeking guidance and ensuring that the examination process remains fair and transparent. Question 18. The control framework reveals that the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam is designed to objectively assess the aptitude of prospective medical students. During the admission cycle, a prominent political figure contacts the admissions committee, requesting special consideration for a candidate who has not met the minimum score requirements but is known to the figure. Which approach best upholds the integrity of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences admission process and its ethical obligations? Option A. Fulfill the request by admitting the candidate, citing the need to maintain good relations with influential figures. Option B. Strictly adhere to the established admission criteria and the candidate's performance on the entrance exam, regardless of external influence. Option C. Create a separate, less rigorous evaluation process for candidates recommended by political figures to accommodate their requests. Option D. Subtly adjust the scoring or evaluation of the candidate to meet the minimum requirements without explicit policy changes. The correct answer is B. Strictly adhere to the established admission criteria and the candidate's performance on the entrance exam, regardless of external influence. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between the university's administrative needs and the ethical obligations of maintaining academic integrity and fairness for prospective students. The pressure to fill limited spots, coupled with the potential for external influence, necessitates a robust and ethically sound decision-making process. Careful judgment is required to ensure that admissions decisions are based solely on merit and adherence to established university regulations, safeguarding the reputation and fairness of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences. The correct approach involves a strict adherence to the established admission criteria and processes as outlined by the Alborz University of Medical Sciences regulatory framework. This means evaluating all candidates based on their academic performance, entrance exam scores, and any other objective criteria defined in the official admission guidelines. Any deviation from these established procedures, especially under external pressure, would compromise the fairness and transparency of the selection process. The regulatory justification lies in upholding the principles of meritocracy and equal opportunity, which are fundamental to academic institutions. Ethically, it aligns with the duty of care to all applicants and the responsibility to maintain the integrity of the medical profession by selecting the most qualified individuals. An incorrect approach that prioritizes fulfilling a request from a political figure, even if it involves admitting a less qualified candidate, represents a severe ethical and regulatory failure. This action undermines the merit-based selection process, potentially admitting individuals who may not possess the necessary aptitude or dedication for medical studies. This not only compromises the quality of future medical professionals, but also erodes public trust in the university and the medical field. Such an action would violate the principles of fairness and impartiality enshrined in the university's admission policies and ethical codes. Another incorrect approach, which involves creating a special, less rigorous admission pathway for individuals with connections, is equally problematic. This creates an unfair advantage for a select group, disregarding the efforts and qualifications of other applicants who follow the standard procedures. This practice is a direct contravention of the university's commitment to equal opportunity and fair competition, and it can lead to legal challenges and reputational damage. A third incorrect approach, which involves subtly manipulating the scoring or evaluation of candidates to favor a connected individual without explicit policy changes, is a form of academic dishonesty. This deception, even if not overtly stated, violates the trust placed in the admissions committee and the university. It is ethically reprehensible and would likely lead to severe disciplinary action if discovered, as it directly subverts the established control framework and the principles of academic integrity. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear understanding of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences admission regulations and ethical guidelines. When faced with external pressure or requests that conflict with these established frameworks, professionals must 1. Reaffirm commitment to the established policies and procedures. 2. Clearly communicate the university's admission criteria and the importance of merit-based selection to the requesting party. 3. Document all interactions and decisions related to the admission process. 4. If necessary, escalate the matter to higher authorities within the university to seek guidance and ensure adherence to regulations. The ultimate goal is to uphold the integrity of the admissions process and ensure that decisions are made impartially and ethically. Question 19. Benchmark analysis indicates that maintaining the integrity of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance examination is paramount for ensuring a fair and equitable selection process. Considering this, which of the following actions best upholds the university's regulatory framework and ethical guidelines for admissions? Option A. Strictly adhering to all published examination procedures and reporting any suspected breaches of integrity to the appropriate university authorities. Option B. Providing a promising applicant with a brief overview of the types of questions that might appear on the exam based on general knowledge of the curriculum. Option C. Facilitating a meeting between a prospective student's influential family member and a member of the admissions committee to discuss the student's application. Option D. Allowing a student to submit their application past the official deadline due to a perceived personal hardship without formal review. The correct answer is A. Strictly adhering to all published examination procedures and reporting any suspected breaches of integrity to the appropriate university authorities. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic advancement and the ethical imperative to uphold the integrity of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance examination process. The pressure to secure a place in a competitive medical program can lead to unethical considerations, requiring careful judgment to navigate. The correct approach involves prioritizing the integrity of the examination and adhering strictly to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences established regulations and ethical guidelines for admissions. This approach is right because it directly aligns with the university's commitment to fair and merit-based selection, preventing any undue advantage or compromise of the admission standards. Specifically, it upholds the principle of equal opportunity for all applicants and maintains the credibility of the medical program. The Alborz University of Medical Sciences examination regulations, by their very nature, are designed to ensure a transparent and equitable selection process. Any action that circumvents these regulations, such as offering preferential treatment or access to confidential information, would be a direct violation of these foundational principles. An incorrect approach that involves providing a student with advance access to examination content or questions would be a severe ethical and regulatory failure. This action directly undermines the fairness of the examination, creating an unfair advantage for one applicant over others and violating the principle of equal opportunity. It also constitutes a breach of confidentiality and academic integrity, which are paramount in any educational institution, especially one as prestigious as Alborz University of Medical Sciences. Another incorrect approach, such as accepting a bribe or offering preferential treatment in exchange for admission, is a grave ethical transgression and a violation of anti-corruption laws and university policies. This not only compromises the integrity of the admissions process, but also introduces individuals into the medical profession who may not possess the necessary qualifications or aptitude, potentially endangering future patient care. Such actions erode public trust in the institution and the medical profession. A third incorrect approach, such as overlooking minor irregularities in a student's application to expedite their admission due to personal connections, also represents a failure. While seemingly less severe than direct cheating, it still compromises the established procedures and fairness of the selection process. It implies that personal relationships can supersede objective merit, which is contrary to the principles of a meritocratic admission system. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding and strict adherence to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance examination regulations and ethical codes of conduct. Professionals must first identify the core ethical principles at play, such as fairness, integrity, and equal opportunity. They should then consult the specific university policies and guidelines relevant to admissions and examinations. If faced with a situation that presents a conflict or ethical dilemma, the professional should seek guidance from their superiors or the designated ethics committee within the university. The ultimate decision must always prioritize the integrity of the institution and the fairness of the process for all applicants. Question 20. System analysis indicates that an applicant preparing for the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam discovers a rumor circulating among peers about a specific, highly probable topic that will be heavily featured in the upcoming examination. The applicant is concerned about the fairness of the exam and their own preparation. Which of the following represents the most ethically and regulatorily sound course of action for this applicant? Option A. Discreetly inquire with current students or recent graduates of Alborz University of Medical Sciences to confirm the accuracy of the rumor and gather more specific details about the rumored topic. Option B. Focus preparation on the rumored topic while also diligently studying all other subjects as per the official syllabus and report the rumor to the examination authorities without speculating on its veracity. Option C. Dedicate the majority of their study time exclusively to the rumored topic, assuming it is accurate and will guarantee a higher score. Option D. Ignore the rumor entirely and continue with their original study plan without any adjustments, regardless of its potential validity. Correct answer is B. Focus preparation on the rumored topic while also diligently studying all other subjects as per the official syllabus and report the rumor to the examination authorities without speculating on its veracity. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge for an applicant to the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam due to the inherent conflict between personal ambition and the ethical obligations of academic integrity and fair competition. The applicant must navigate the pressure to succeed while adhering to the strict rules governing the examination process. Careful judgment is required to ensure that any actions taken do not compromise the integrity of the exam or violate established regulations. The correct approach involves prioritizing academic honesty and adhering strictly to the examination guidelines provided by Alborz University of Medical Sciences. This means refraining from any form of unauthorized assistance or information gathering that could provide an unfair advantage. This approach is ethically sound and aligns with the regulatory framework of university entrance exams, which are designed to assess a candidate's genuine knowledge and aptitude. By acting with integrity, the applicant upholds the principles of fairness and meritocracy, which are fundamental to the educational system. An incorrect approach would be to seek or utilize unauthorized information about the exam content. This action directly violates the principles of academic integrity and the specific regulations of the Alborz University of Medical Sciences entrance exam, which explicitly prohibit such behavior. This constitutes a serious ethical breach and can lead to severe consequences, including disqualification from the exam and potential blacklisting from future academic pursuits. Another incorrect approach would be to share information about the exam with other candidates before or during the examination period. This undermines the fairness of the competition and compromises the integrity of the assessment process for all participants. It is a violation of the trust placed in candidates to maintain the confidentiality and security of the examination. A third incorrect approach would be to attempt to bribe or influence examination officials. This is not only a severe ethical violation, but also a criminal offense in many jurisdictions, including those governing academic institutions. Such actions corrupt the examination process and are fundamentally opposed to the principles of merit-based selection. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the examination's rules and regulations, a strong commitment to ethical conduct, and a self-awareness of the potential consequences of any deviation from these standards. When faced with pressure or temptation, an individual should always default to the most ethical and compliant course of action, prioritizing integrity over perceived short-term gains.